Paul, could you please continue?
Yes, thank you.
Thank
As
you.
we've shared, and I think thanked you a few times, last spring the board gave our high schools the gift of additional resources by the way of ninth grade deans and an additional counselor. We're excited to show some of the work that has been accomplished this year, and we're going to do it through the lens of Pioneer High School, but it really is reflective of the work that we've done across all three of our comprehensive high schools. And we're going to show you some data that we believe demonstrates the positive impact that the deans and the counselors have had on our ninth grade students. Keep in mind that we hired our deans and counselors late in the summer. In fact, Ms. Stevenson didn't get to us until September. It was a couple of weeks after school. They didn't have the advantage of this spring and summer term like they do now to plan and program. But what I can tell you is, especially over the last 5 or 6 weeks, they have worked tirelessly, reaching down into the middle schools to work with the students and families on this particular aspect of their work. We believe that our incoming freshmen are going to have a running start into high school in the fall. You heard a little bit from the students about the mentoring program that was piloted at Pioneer that I know the other two schools are looking at, reaching down into the middle schools with similar programs. As I stated in the introduction of our presentation, the intense needs of our students are met by the intense care of very talented people. We're excited to share some things with you. Here's a sneak peek, and it's not to give away the great news that the Pioneer team will share, but our failure rates in ninth grade are way down. I can say that confidently. They're way down, and we're going to show you some first semester data. We're actually the second semester data is actually starting to trickle in. And we know that ninth grade success is a significant leading indicator to growth in graduation rates, healthy behaviors throughout a student's high school years. So here to present again are Mr. Lauder and Mr. Hilliard, and here is the good news about the resources that this board has afforded us.
Good evening.
Still evening.
Yes,
So
indeed.
far.
Yes, indeed. I almost said morning, but I didn't think anybody would get the
Not
joke.
yet.
While I am not a large part of the presentation, I did want to come up and make sure that I expressed my gratitude and to say thank you. I am thanking you and genuinely appreciate the investment that you have made in time and resources and in investing in our most valuable assets, and that is, of course, our students. I appreciate how the Ann Arbor public school system is systematically and aggressively attacking the high school dropout rate. While there are many variables that lead to students dropping out of high school, we all know that ninth grade success, or lack thereof, is of course the largest variable, especially for minority and low SES students. If students do well as freshmen, they can ride that wave of success and confidence throughout their high school career and beyond. But for students that don't come in and do as well immediately, they are merely raindrops in a sea of confusion. And we know that the BFF of confusion is frustration. With that in mind, we as high school principals have been given the best life preservers imaginable in our ninth grade deans and counselors. We have always had a myriad of interventions, programs, and opportunities to aid student success, ranging from lead crew and peer mediation to 504s and personal curriculums. But our ninth grade deans and counselors have contributed greatly to our work with students transition to ninth grade as they have essentially, as ninth graders learn to do school, how to be high school students. They have helped with their social emotional needs, they have helped with their college and career exploration, and they have been, again, incredible assets to us. They've been wonderful additions to our teams, and some of the things they've done this year have given us an opportunity to work with some of our students before they even get to us as we build bridges with our middle schools. They are identifying trends and areas for improvement as well as strengths and areas of interest to make sure that we are giving them what they need to hit the ground running as high schoolers. We can't always wait until they enter the building in the fall to try to get them to understand what it means to be a successful high school student, and our ninth grade deans and counselors has helped us get an upper hand and to gain an edge in that area. We get to work with many of our students before they get into crisis mode, and yet we're still able to help them if they do somehow manage to get there with a myriad of interventions and appropriate placements with the people that work with us in our buildings. We get an opportunity to delve deeper into the data that allows us to look at who is teaching our emerging learners at the onset of their high school careers, and to ultimately decide if they are a right fit for that age group. They have allowed us to give some of our students an earlier introduction to college, give them opportunities to look at careers that they thought or may not have thought imaginable, and teach them to build bridges when the initial path to success seems to be blocked. They have been valuable additions again to our staff, and we are thankful for them. So again, while I don't have a whole lot to do with the presentation in and of itself, I felt I must come up and at least say thank you for what you have given us. I will now give this to Mr. Hilliard, and he will tell you about the work that he, Mrs. Stevenson, and Dr. Allen have been doing this year and their next steps moving forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Louder. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to share with you some highlights of the 9th grade Dean initiatives and how they positively impact student outcomes. Tonight I'll be sharing with you highlights from all 3 comprehensive high schools. The diagram above is an iteration of the model of instructional core. This diagram shows how students, teachers, and parents are the key to success in a student's educational journey. As 9th grade deans and counselors, we focused on the instructional core to gain a better understanding of our students and identify effective interventions that will impact their success. One of our main goals was to increase communications to teachers, students, and parents of our 9th grade students' academic standing by continuously monitoring the progress of 9th grade students. We use this type of data to identify students not meeting their potential. We regularly met directly with students not meeting their potential, as well as used a variety of methods to communicate to parents their students' academic standing. All of the 9th grade deans regularly used data analysis of the most current grade reports to notify parents of their students' standing. Every student that had a low or failing grade was communicated to regularly. We found these methods to be effective and allowed us to build positive working relationships with teachers, parents, and students. This continuous monitoring and communication also allowed us to implement interventions for each individual student not meeting their potential. The parent informational meetings are an example of a highlight of the many effective programs implemented to build relationships with parents of all students. These programs gave us the opportunity to meet directly with both parents and students, as well as directly work with parents about the resources that are available to them at their comprehensive high school. The meetings in the fall and the spring focused on the transition to 9th grade, and in the spring focused on the transition to 10th grade. Well over 40 parents attended these meetings. The winter meeting focused on new and incoming parents exploring and transitioning to our schools. This program was an ongoing initiative to introduce students and parents to our comprehensive high schools, and were well attended with over 150 families. The Focus Freshman was an innovative method to motivate 9th grade students and work directly with struggling students. Focus Freshman students were identified through regularly ran grade reports. The Focus Freshman initiative was held once a month during lunches, and these students identified were able to meet and discuss a variety of topics. This program will continue in the fall through our 9th grade counselors. Getting students on a college campus was another highlight of our 9th grade deans. We wanted students to experience firsthand what opportunities are available to them as they begin to plan their futures. Students were able to tour campuses, hear from current students, and meet directly with an admissions counselor on the importance of having a plan during and after high school. This program initiative motivated students to succeed in high school and have a plan after high school. The Career Exploration Program was highly successful and included many students as well as Ann Arbor alumni. It allowed us to build partnerships with business professionals and specific university departments. We had well over 50 professional participants in the program that met with over 500 9th grade students. Students learned to network and meet with career professionals that they were interested in, explore careers that they wanted to learn about, and hear directly from business professionals on how they got to where they got in their careers. Building a bridge between our middle schools and high schools was the goal of our shadow days and mentoring programs. Students that participated were identified by counselors and intervention specialists as needing additional support as they transitioned to high school. In the shadow days, program students were on the site at the comprehensive high school and interacted with current high school students and ninth grade dean. Continuing with the goal of building a bridge between our middle schools and high schools, we implemented a peer-to-peer mentoring program. In this program, high school students visited high school, and we had the opportunity this evening to hear from some of those peer-to-peer mentors. I'd like to start today by introducing ninth grade student Jamal Beatty. Jamal is going to share with us the impact of ninth grade deans at Pioneer High School.
Hello, board.
Hello.
My name is Jamal Beatty. I'm a freshman at Pioneer, and our dean, he has Mr. Hilliard. He has been very efficient in his work. He has given us a lot of opportunities this year. For example, I was in the Rising Scholars program this year, and they had us go on lots of trips. We went to like colleges to see what we like about the colleges, to see if that was something that we wanted to be interested in, all the different stuff like medicine and all the different stuff that we could major in colleges just in our freshman year, and I believe that that's good starting now so that you have just a little bit of an idea of what you're going to do later. And that was brought to us, and I was very appreciative of that. And then we had Career Day that Mr. Hilliard and a few other members of the school had put together. And it was just basically a bunch of different places like Whole Foods and Domino's and all of them. They just came to the school as representatives, and they all just told us about the job experience and told us about what went on there, and it really gave you a different perspective of what was going on inside of those different workplaces and environments. And it really did help me to get to know what the job life is out there and what opportunities it can bring to you. And I think that helped other students as well. And overall, the opportunities that we've been given and the opportunities that have been presented to us have been very helpful. And excuse me. And we're using this as a tool for next year and the rest of our high school, and hopefully for the rest of our lives. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamal. One of our goals was to build the bridge of with our middle schools as we transition to the high school. So we created a PMG, is what we call it, the Pioneer Mentoring Group. And the Pioneer Mentoring Group, under the idea of Mr. Lauder and Ms. Haywood at Tappin and Ms. Fluker at Tappin, were able to build relationships with students that were transitioning from Tappin to Pioneer High School. So what I'd like to do is introduce some of our Pioneer mentors that worked with Tappin students throughout the school year on the transition to high school.
Hello, my name is Morgan Tinsley. I'm a senior at Pioneer High School, and I'm a part of PMG, and it's our Pioneer Mentoring Group. And basically, we go to the 8th grade, we go to Tappin during their advisory time, and we help them with any work that they need to do, and we just talk to them, just creating a relationship so that their transition from middle school to high school, that's a difficult transition to make. It's a big transition to make in life. So we just we're here to make that transition a lot smoother for them, and so that they feel more comfortable and knowing people and having a relationship when they get to high school. So, yeah.
Great, thank you.
So before like any of our work started, we found it essential to like meet with a school social worker, Mr. Stern, and we like discussed guidelines for our group and like tips on forming like healthy relationships with each of like the rising ninth graders. It was like an interesting meeting as we learned a lot of helpful information on how to like support each student. We like helpful information also how to build lasting relationships and just become like better role models, not only for them, but just like younger peers through around us like in our daily life. Our first meeting at Tappin wasn't necessarily like how like it normally went. I think it was focused on like introducing each other and just figuring out who had more of the like who had more similar interests and like who was involved in like kind of the same stuff at different schools. So we showed them like a small piece of who we are by just like representing the programs that we like participated in at Pioneer. And I think it was like a good baseline connection with us and the kids. So from that point, we could figure out who to pair with each other. So we ended up like having one mentor for Pioneer with 2 students from Tappin with similar interest and like questions about high school. So about twice a month we visited the kids at Tappin and we worked on like homework. This was extremely beneficial as not only like did we help them get through like their hard math or science questions, but they confided in us with like their fears for their future at Pioneer, and like we as mentors try to ease those fears by just telling them stories about our real life experiences at Pioneer and like how to be a successful student and like what healthy habits to form while attending Pioneer. So the fears weren't like necessarily like huge. They were just kind of like, oh, what's the lunch going to be like, or am I going to be in class with like other ninth graders? I think it was just like basic questions anyone really would have. So being a mentor at Tappin was extremely fun and a really great experience, and it holds like so much value to like all of us. We're not the only mentors. There was like so many other ones. So just like seeing the difference we made, either big or small, in the lives of the students was so rewarding. And I'm glad I made most of like every peer meeting that we had. And I think I can speak for all of us when I say like we created like lasting relationships. I'm really excited about their transition to Pioneer, and I just can't wait to see like what each of them will bring to the Pioneer community.
And could you introduce your name and the grade
level?
level?
I'm Grace, and I am going to be a senior next year.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Layla Jarjura. I think Grace Nor covered it all. I'm a rising senior as well. But I think I'd like to explain a little more on how much it has benefited me, because when I was an 8th grader, I went into high school with little sense of time management skills, how to get homework help, and advice on what classes to take. And I think that through our program, we have been able to provide mentoring to help eliminate the major struggle of the transition to high school. And I'm very thankful that I have been able to work with such amazing students and mentor a group that has made such a big impact and will be representing our future of Pioneer. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. To continue with the program, these students will be working with the students as 9th graders.
Okay.
So the program transitions. So we'll have other juniors that will work with students at Tappin, and then our seniors will work with our freshmen, so that way they
that's
can
great.
connect and know where to go in the school to get help. Student achievement is at the top of the instructional core model. The highlights of the program initiatives were key to improving student outcomes. This first slide shows core content area failure rates from fall 2016 semester versus the fall 2017 semester. This data includes the 3 comprehensive high schools and shows a decrease in the number of failing students in total math classes by 38%. Biology student failures decreased by 19%. English 9 failure rates decreased by 42%, and the number of failing students in world history and geography decreased by 40%. On the graph, you can also see the actual number of students that failed those courses. This data set is another comparison of the number of failing 9th grade students from fall 2016 versus fall of 2017. In 1 year, we saw a decrease in the number of failing 9th grade students failing one course, a decrease in the number of students failing more than one course, and a decrease in the total courses failed from 2016 to 2017. After spending the school year working and learning about what works most effectively with students, we have a number of next steps that we would like to implement for the upcoming school year. Increase the number of PASS classes and work directly with creating an effective curriculum.
And Dan, would you remind what a PASS class is, please?
I will. The PASS class is a personal academic student support. It's a tier 2 course that we spoke about earlier on that multi-tiered model system, where we, for ninth grade deans, we would identify students that are struggling academically, struggling socially, or struggling behaviorally, where they could use more one-on-one interaction with a teacher to work on specific core curriculum content. The curriculum goals for this type of a course for ninth grade students would include executive functioning skills, organization, planning, and time management, understanding one's own personal learning style and how to effectively do school, team building and community service to increase community connection and mentoring, and goal setting with a backward design, college to freshman year of high school goal setting. Students in a PASS class will be identified using a variety of variables, and students will receive an elective credit in the semester-long class. Creating a summer transition program is the next step that will allow us to continuously work with incoming students as they transition to high school. Students will be identified through a number of variables, including recommendation from previous counselor or principal. The program will focus on ninth graders connecting to their school, coping strategies, staying active, organization, time management, and study habit skills. Parent workshops will will also allow us to work with students and see a number of parents, and see a larger number of parents during orientation. We want to change the parent meetings towards the orientation registration time, because there will be a large number of parents that will be in the buildings, because it was a fantastic idea to host the parent meetings, and now we want to find a strategic way to impact an opportunity to meet more parents. The workshops will focus on Power School and resources available at each school to ensure academic success. As ninth grade deans and counselors, we want to thank you for the opportunity to share our highlights with you, and we look forward to continuing our work with the transition of ninth grade students.
I'm going to apologize for going very, very fast to this last slide, but we did want to share with you just our challenges and next steps as we look as a team. Obviously, all of our work is always around equity and greater opportunity for students. We'll continue to address that in part through the EOS work that we're doing in Naviance. Support and intervention is important, for whether it's for our seniors with impacting graduation rates with options and the other interventions, our ninth grade transition supports, SAT, all of those things. Equally important in all of this, and we didn't spend a lot of time talking about discipline data, but we are very committed to reviewing our discipline data, which we believe it represents great work that we did this year. But we do have an issue of disproportionality still, and we'll recognize that. We use the 3-circle Venn diagram when we're talking about all of this work, because oftentimes we're talking about our African American students, our students with special needs, and our economically disadvantaged students, and each of those overlaps identifies particular needs, and we try to be very, very targeted in the way we approach our leadership work to most directly impact, especially that middle overlap where we know many of our students who need our greatest support exist. So thank you for your time tonight, and that concludes our presentation unless there's any other questions.
Thank you, and I want to thank our principals and administrators for being with us so late this evening. So thank you, and you did a wonderful job wrapping up the school year, and I know you're not done yet, but we appreciate your attendance with us this evening, so thank you so much.